There is power behind every story we carry within. Every tragedy, no, yes, laugh, victory. And every testimony that is incubated within our souls have power. The power to transform, from tragedy to crown, from obstacle to opportunity, and all the moments in between make us wiser. Watch Candid Conversations with Charisa for impactful, unheard moments that will certainly spark your power and inner truth to shift, heal, and restore your life. It's time to get real, uncover, unlock, unpack, set free, and increase the dialogue to change a life. We all start somewhere and end in places of destiny. Get ready for the long-awaited Candid Conversations with Charisa.
Hi, it's Charisa Monroe Wilborn, and I want to welcome you back to Candid Conversations Season 4. Yes, we are rocking, we are rolling, and it is getting better and better and better. If you are here, you've either been following my channel on YouTube, you've been subscribing, and if you haven't, now you want to subscribe, now is the time. Make sure you share, make sure you like, and make sure you comment. I love reading your comments. They are so encouraging and so supportive. So keep following for the next 8 weeks. We'll be here just having open and candid conversations about life. Stay tuned. And that's a really, really good topic for discussion, because there is mental health and then there's mental health and leadership. And there is even if it's a fine line, it's a fine line between the two. And then a lot of people may ask, well, why, isn't everyone a leader, and why is it different? And do I agree that everyone has the potential to be a leader? Yes. Do I agree that everybody was born to be a leader? Yes. Do I believe and agree that everyone will become a leader? No. And there's a difference. We were all born with the capacity to be great. We were all born with the capacity to lead. We were all born with a purpose, for a purpose, because of a purpose. We were all born with gifts, and we were all born and created to lead in those areas of gifting. But we all will not fulfill and uncover our purpose. We won't all be great because we have very bad habits and we make poor choices. We won't put in the necessary work that's needed to become a leader and to become great leaders. So no, everybody won't become a leader. Therefore, everybody won't be one. And so those that are becoming, because I don't ever think you arrive at leadership. I think there's always going to be this evolving of the leader that you are as you grow and mature in knowledge and wisdom and in your abilities and capacity to influence. And so with that being said, all of those persons that are doing that work, there is mental health and mental wellness that becomes even more important to them, becomes more of a concept, an aspect of their life that they must pay attention to. And of course, we're in this era now where mental health is no longer at the bottom. It's no longer hidden. It's no longer under a bushel. It's now at the surface. It's now at the top. And people are talking about it more, which I think is good. But they're also more aware. And I think especially for leaders, we go through life defending and protecting and hiding so much because we believe that we're supposed to be perfect. We believe that we're supposed to be whole all the time. Someone told us that, if your mental health was an issue, you don't air out your dirty laundry. It was taboo to talk about. And so a lot of leaders and I'm talking leaders that are in high positions, leaders that are in, and I'm going to say lower positions, meaning those that are not in the spotlight, but they're still walking in their leadership. They don't want to tell anyone that they're scared. They don't want to tell anyone that they're nervous and anxious. They don't want to talk about the fact that there are times when I really do feel depressed because a family member of mine died 5 years ago and I'm still dealing with grief and loss. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want to. There's someone that has put this fear in them. There are some expectations that they are trying to meet that aren't theirs and that aren't reasonable, and they're forcing themselves to not have the mental health awareness. And if they are aware, we can't talk about it. We can't let anyone know. And it's because for a long time, even now, that mental health, if your mental health is not at a certain capacity, or if you're dealing with any mental issues or disorders, then you're weak. And I think that is so far from the truth. So far from the truth. We all have minds. We all have brains. We all have genetics. We all have DNA. We all have issues and crises in life. We all go through something. As leaders, as humans, as people in relationships, and we relate with each other, as changes come and go, things happen. Like, we go through these things, and there are going to be times when your mental capacity is not going to be at best. And so one of the things that I love to talk about, especially lately, is mental hygiene. There's a mental hygiene, there's a hygiene that we can put into practice for our mental, the same way we do for our teeth, for our hair, for our bodies, for our feet. Nobody wants to have hard, crusty feet. Nobody wants yellow teeth. Nobody wants hair balding and coming out. We take care of those. Why don't you want to take care of your mind as well? And so as leaders, we should be practicing what I call very good mental hygiene, because if our mental health or the state of our mental wellness is not up to par, or it's not at a capacity that's going to handle where we're going, we will never get there. And if we do, we will be doing a disservice to the people that we are serving. So you said something just now. You said, what is advice on the pressures that leaders get? Because as a leader, you're looked at as a certain way because of leader. So that statement alone is a judgment statement. That means that it is a judgment that someone else has put on what a leader should be. And I think that's the faultiness. That's the faulty. Because, and again, like I mentioned before, we have nothing to hide. Nothing to, like, for as long as you're hiding, as long as you're protecting, as long as you are trying to prove something, like, you're not living to full capacity in anything. Because if you're hiding something, you're not authentic. If you're hiding something, you're not trusting somebody. If you're protecting and proving something, you're not free. And to me, there are certain elements that we need in life if we're going to continue to shift from one level of certainty to the next, from one level of greatness to the next, from one level of excellence to the next. And as leaders, if we can't make that shift, we're not going to progress. Like, I'm all about progressing before I am about production, or before I am about results. Like, the progress to me matters, because the progress is where change happens for me and for anyone else. And so people are not necessarily giving leaders this way of thinking. It's just, especially when you have leaders that are in the forefront. So unfortunately, light exposes. So that is what people are saying. So, because once you're in the light, once you're exposed, once you're in the front and light, they do the same thing. They expose. And so once something is exposed, there's a certain responsibility on it that wasn't there before. So then there are certain expectations on it. And so people automatically think that if I'm if I'm in the front, I'm a leader. If I'm in the spotlight, I'm a leader. But yet you're not influencing. Your character is flawed. You're not integrous, but yet you're in the spotlight. But we see all of that. We get to see that. In darkness, we can. Or when you're behind the scenes, we can. And so when you're behind the scenes, when you're in darkness, when you're fearing visibility, you're hiding, you're protecting something, you're trying to prove. So when you're out there, people are wondering, they're watching. And people are going to have judgments. Your judgment of a leader is going to be different from my judgment. My judgment is going to be different from his judgment. His judgment is going to be different from hers. And we all are going to have these judgments of what a leader should be, what you should be doing, what you should look like, how much level of greatness and how much level of excellence you should have. And so when I start off by saying a couple episodes ago, leadership starts with self-awareness. When you become self-aware, you and I were having a discussion a little bit ago, and we were talking about the character of someone else, and you said to me, luckily for her, she knows who she is. And you said that because people had been talking about her in a negative way. And you noticed that it didn't change anything for her. And it's because, luckily for her, she knows who she is. When you know who you are as a person, as a leader, in purpose, in vision, even in Christ these days, when you know who you are, there's nothing that anyone can say. There's no expectation that someone can have. There's no judgment that anyone can put on you. And there's definitely no value that they can give you, because you are so self-aware of your own idiosyncrasies, your own faults, but you're also very much aware of your strengths. And so as a leader, you get to be in spite of their judgment. You get to become in spite of their value. You get to become in spite of their expectations. Because really and truly, you will never, you ever try pleasing people? And then you ever try pleasing everybody? Like, you are never going to be able to meet other people's expectations and their judgment. And you're always going to be more than the value they want to give you. But you have to, like that starts with a self-awareness. So to the very question you're saying, what advice do you give to people who, they look at leaders a certain way? Self-awareness is the one thing that you get to master. Like, when you can master self-awareness, I'm aware of my presence. I'm aware of who I am. I'm aware of what I have to work on. I'm aware of my strengths. I'm aware of my weaknesses. I'm aware of my enemies. I'm aware of my friends. I'm aware of where I'm at emotionally, spiritually, psychologically. Like, when you are aware and becoming aware of yourself, being self-aware requires so much freedom, requires so much forgiving, requires so much trust of yourself. Like, when you're able to do that, like, you become untouchable. You literally become untouchable. So that woman that you and I were talking about, she is untouchable to anybody else's words. Now, she wasn't always there, because I know she wasn't always to that point, but she took years of mastering that. If I'm going to be leading people, I have to be self-aware of who I am, because nobody else's words can deter me from the leader that I am becoming and going to continue to become. Yes, a great question. Some of the best practices and tools for mental hygiene, and I have a few of them, but for the sake of time, I'll give 3. So 1, normalizing the conversation. And I think we are finally, we meaning the world, society, finally at a place where we are starting to learn to normalize the conversation, which just means having the conversation, being able to express, being able to say, I'm not okay, being able to say, I'm hurting, being able to say, I need help, being able to, just being able to have that conversation, and normalizing it to where it's not taboo. Just like how we talk about sex all day long. Like, why wouldn't we talk about mental health, which is something that's so much more important to us as humans. The other 2 I would say is go hand in hand. 1, being able to ask for help. I know and I say this especially for my leaders, because leaders don't like to ask for help, because just like mental health, they look at asking for something, it means that I don't have it in the first place. Or if I need to ask for help, that means I'm weak and I'm lacking. I think one of the strongest attributes of anyone is when they can actually say, I need help. I don't know how to do this. I don't know what I'm doing. And you talk about tools. What tools do we have? How many of us have so much tools in our toolboxes? Like I have a toolbox at home filled, I'm not say filled with like over 3,000 pieces of tools. And I probably know how to use 2. Okay, maybe 3. The hammer, the Phillips screwdriver, and the flathead. That's it. Out of the other 2,997, I have no idea. No idea. And it's because I haven't even asked, how do I do this? I haven't read the instructions. I haven't taken the time to figure out how do I do this. And so we get to ask for help. And then we also get to lend a hand. Because one thing I know is that we are not alone in this journey that we are in. We are not alone in our issues. We are not alone in our crises. And so maybe today I'm good. Maybe today I'm fine. But tomorrow a friend is not. Tomorrow a neighbor is not. Tomorrow a stranger is not. I get to lend a hand. And when you do that, the reason why I talk about asking for help and then lending is because when you do that, that cycle of giving and receiving and giving and receiving, you open yourself up for healing. You open yourself up for forgiveness and for freedom. And those are the key aspects that's needed when you want to be significant in the world, when you want to be influential, when you want to be successful, and you don't want to be, I love to use this word, constipated. Like so much of us are constipated in our own mind because we don't want to allow ourselves to ask for help and be free, but we also don't want to allow ourselves to open up and help somebody else. And once we open up, then you allow someone to be able to help you as well. So I would definitely start there as 3 things we can start to employ now, today. You don't have to wait till tomorrow. You can start to lend a hand today. You can say to someone, I need help today. And you can start having that conversation today.